All right. Hey, Roseanne, I'm starting my timer for 20 minutes. That's all we have. Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you happen to answer this Truth Bomb Riff. I'm joined by my colleague, Roseanne Rabiola Miele, out of the great city of Chicago, and of course, relocated to, well, let's call it Las Vegas, Nevada. We're recording on, what was it, Thursday, July 24th, 2025. At noon our time, my time. She's Pacific. So, look, I wanted to get us on the phone or this real quick just to kind of wrap this out. Look, everything that we've been trying to get people to understand, Roseanne, is happening right now, right in front of our eyes. You call it magic time, but I want to set the table and let you riff for a minute. So, what do we know? Donald Trump is using his formula, his calculus, lie, deny, switch the blame, and implicate, to try to get out of underneath the closing walls of the Epstein scenario by blaming Obama for treason, using forgeries and falsification of records to frame him, presumably on Epstein, but he's also intermixing the magnitude of the 2016 election, and he's calling it treason. Meanwhile, we know that Donald Trump's been involved with forging and falsifying probably thousands, if not tens of thousands, of documents his entire career. He got convicted of 34 felony convictions of falsifying business records. He got sued for $450 million for a civil settlement coming from the case of Letitia James based on appraisal fraud that he was supposedly defrauding the bank that just happens to be Deutsche Bank, that just happens to be connected to all things Putin. And, she didn't go there, and neither does mainstream media when they're talking about the ridiculousness of Obama, which is both ironic and moronic, but at the same time, incredibly telling because Obama didn't falsify business records. Obama covered for Wall Street using tens of millions of falsification of business records that led to tens of millions of felonies that were never brought out by Eric Holder's Department of Justice. And the through line of the corruption of the Department of Justice from that domino has led to this insanity that, ironically, Pam Bondi, who was created from the 2008 great financial crisis because she was protecting Bank of America, who was involved with, as you've seen in our previous revelations with Bruce Jacobs out of Miami, literally had 2 billion pieces of data of documentation fraud around the country that she covered up because that was her ticket to the show. And now she may actually be, even though Obama is above the law because of what the Supreme Court said, that he was obviously, if he did all of this stuff, acting as the imperial president. I mean, I can't see it being, carved up any other slippery different way. And it's ridiculous and absurd at the same time. But what's not absurd is the reality that all of this, and Epstein is the gateway drug to the circus of the billionaire calamity that was made possible because we gave tens of trillions of dollars illegally for free backdoor to this apparatus that owns the government. And so now we just have to somehow get people to understand that we have the answers. All of them. All of them. And we just happened to yesterday, I talked to Lev Parnas. Lev Parnas is giving us some inside pool, into Donald Trump, which is really, interesting. But meanwhile, a lot of people might react to respond to that. But we have Bill Black, we have Paul Peltier, we have David K. Johnston, we have the guys that have been doing this stuff for decades. But, now they have you and me because of everything that we've done, but I've done from the standpoint that I kept pulling and pulling and pulling after we produced the new Untouchables, the Pecora files, and it led me to the Federal Crisis Inquiry Commission, which led me, of course, to all things Raj Cohen and Sullivan and Cromwell, and who was Sullivan and Cromwell and who was Raj Cohen. But they said in the testimony back in 2011, where he said we expanded the Federal Reserve box 13.3 because we didn't know how deep the derivatives and the credit default swaps and everything else went, that led to $33 trillion from our friend Warren Randall Ray at, obviously, associated with MMT, but he was at the Levy study that revealed all this stuff in 2012, but the media hid. And so the relevance is, and people have probably got their heads scrambled listening to me, they're like, okay, yeah, but come on, that was ancient history. Epstein was before all this stuff and concurrent, by the way. So you can't use that argument. It's just all the same thing. The entire mainstream media and millions of people are like, show us the Epstein files. Oh, it turns out that the Department of Justice told Trump in advance, this was front page news yesterday, that he's on the list. And then Mike Johnson, who is obviously a closeted homosexual,
Yeah.
not like there's anything wrong with that, but this clown shuts down
Thank you,
Congress.
Jerry
Okay,
Seinfeld.
so now it's your turn to riff, and I'm going to go on silent. Let me tell you how much time you have. I think you've got 14 minutes. I'm going to see if
Now,
I can
listen,
14 minutes.
here's the thing. Every day I get up, and no matter what it is that I see on headlines in the media, it doesn't sway me. Okay. When I was 10, 12 years old, I looked at the newspaper and I saw the same headlines. And I say to my grandmother, how come they all get the same headlines? How come? Now, I'm a kid and I'm looking at newspapers. Chicago had morning newspapers, afternoon newspapers, and they're all coming out with the same thing. So, how come? I say to her, what do they all get together in a freaking meeting and decide what we're going to make the headline for the Sun Times and the Tribune and the Chicago American? What, how does this happen? Okay. So think about that. That's, I'm talking 60 years ago. Think about that. Look at today. Look at what is being thrown at us, because I just see it as being thrown at us. And what do? I go straight ahead. I don't, I listen. And as I'm listening to all these different podcasts, it's like, okay, guys, but you know what? What are you missing? How come all of you are missing the target? When I say target, I can't help but think of Richard Bowen, who blew the whistle on Citigroup, who said, don't buy this garbage. But people don't want to listen. People, and I said to you before we,
I didn't want to interrupt you, but you need to clarify, in my opinion, that he didn't tell the public that. He told the bosses that. Richard Bowen, one of the grand whistleblowers of the con that you can find at thecon.tv, who was featured on 60 Minutes and I believe was the highest rated show or episode on 60 Minutes in at least 10 years. But he was warning his bosses and his bosses' bosses because it was his job as the guy that goes into all of the details to determine, oh, wait a second, they're not actually living up to their reps and warranties that they were selling in their portfolios to all of these giant AAA investment funds on behalf of, it could be plumbers and teachers and pensions across the country. He knew the whole thing was going to blow, and he goes and tells his supervisors and then their supervisors, and then he notifies the chairman of the board, who happens to be none other than Robert Rubin, who just happens to be the former Treasury Secretary under Clinton, who happened to be part of all of the deregulation.
and why don't they listen?
Because
Why
he was the
don't they listen?
CEO of because he was the CEO of Goldman before that, and why don't they, his supervisors, listen? Because they, his supervisors, are paid to do the crime.
Their bread is buttered doing the wrong thing.
And
Okay.
so that led to $785 billion a year being sold in toxic packages that would then blow up the world And ultimately, Citigroup, instead of going down, got $3 trillion.
And okay, people need to watch the video you did with Mr. Parnas yesterday. Okay. Mr. Parnas was like a neighborhood guy, like I knew tons of them. He did all this shady stuff. But when he got to the point where he understood that that crime is this obsession, and you're not looking at people as people, you're looking at them as objects or obsessions, and you don't care and you don't give a shit, and screw everybody else because you're okay. When Lev Parnas understood that Hunter Biden was a person, just like all of us are people, just like millions of people, just like thousands of people I see in the street whose names I want to remember. When you see people as people, you cannot perpetrate crimes upon them. You cannot screw them. You have to care. Who does Trump care about? Trump cares about no one. People in the media, people who are politicians, people who are candidates to be elected officials, all the media, everybody's doing what benefits them, and they can't even see what is happening to real people. Until you can see real people who are suffering, you'll go along listening to anybody. Oh, Imelda Marcos, she had thousands of pairs of shoes. Oh, Marcos was wonderful. Oh, Putin, he's really not such a bad guy because he's letting me do what I want to do. Oh, this person, that person, NBC, CBS, Rupert Murdoch, anybody who's doing anything that benefits people who work for those people, they're okay with.
Okay,
They're okay
it's
with.
called the complicity racket. By the way, there was this wonderful, you know, work that followed all of the manner, shape, or form of Weinstein. That was part of the Me Too catalyst that was done by Ronan Farrow in the New Yorker, or was it the Atlantic, which was important because
It was the media.
well,
Uh,
it was because all of the stuff had been hidden before because of the complicity machine, and so he wrote the complicity machine, and I've known this now for decades, and because I've been in the middle of a lot of this stuff, which I'd never partake in, and which led me to understand the questions to ask that led me to the con, because I knew they were pissing on my head, telling me it was rain, and I'm not their fool, and that's what we're trying to convey to the American people. Let me ask you these questions because we got 5 minutes left, okay? So, what's the most important topic that connects all of these other topics in your estimation?
we have the $71 truth that nobody wants to talk about. And if you don't have the resources, the truth is a resource, the $71 trillion is a resource. All of everybody that oh yeah, they like that, they go here, they go there, but they don't go straight to the truth.
Right,
If
but
you
what I'm trying to get at is the corruption. Okay, because the corruption is what creates fascism. Always has, always will. Even though we didn't know what fascism was until basically
But
Mussolini.
I sure knew what power and control was,
But
and that was
we've seen a
corruption.
degree of fascism for 1,000 years. Okay, I mean it's just humans work a certain way. There's psychology. There's you fit in, you're outside. You've got commitment to truth and dignity, or maybe you're complicit in a racket because you feel safe in a scenario. So what we're revealing to you that the entire system of power has hidden from us for now decades that blew up in 2008 that led to the next 14 years, 15 years if you put that compositely, but our journey's been 13 years, meaning mine, and then yours has been the last 5. But what we revealed to you that nobody else has, that the Department of Justice hasn't done, because the Department of Justice under Eric Holder is just as corrupt, if not more so, than what we saw under Bill Barr, which was
Yeah.
completely corrupt, and what we saw underneath, of course, now Pam Bondi, which is worse. It's a race to the bottom, and it's like hell has risen from my perspective because corruption is it's just this psychological component of I see nothing, I hear nothing, I say nothing. You remember Colonel Klein? By the way, that's what I kind of feel like, that Donald Trump is the Mad Magazine, Mad King, that's kind of like Colonel Klink with everybody that's in his apparatus. I see nothing, I hear nothing, I feel nothing. Look, these guys are all liars and they're all easy to see. They're like the JV, as Bill Black says, but you have to fully compartmentalize and understand that money is the fuel that runs the world economy.
Right.
The Federal Reserve is central to the whole thing. And that what they did in what we're revealing to you is that they saved the billionaire class, they saved the global oligarchs, they saved basically the top 10% just based on assets, how this whole thing works. And they destroyed the American middle class by destroying the law. So the law had already been lost over a
Yep.
decade ago. And all of this other stuff is a facade. But here we are, full circle to this conversation. I remind you, Donald Trump has accused Obama of treason using forgeries and, all shape, or
Forgeries.
to
Kills me.
frame Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has been up to his eyeballs in this madness the entire time. If you're going to elect a criminal racist pig to president, expect criminal racist pig outcomes. Okay,
That's right.
they're all using the same methodology that they've used going back to the 70s. Donald Trump was involved. He inherited $400 million. He got involved with the mob because it was in real estate. He got tax incentives, but he had to deal with the 5 families of the mob from the very beginning. He started running with drug runners and everything else to populate his real estate projects, and he's been involved with these guys ever since. Like Lev Parnas told me yesterday, when the Russians showed up, they didn't buy one unit; they bought 20 or 30 at 20% increased rates because they were laundering money. The entire island of Manhattan is pretty much a billionaire ode to the modern day pharaohs. And that's because lawyers, attorneys, judges, politicians, everybody in the mix, it's just the same thing as we saw Ferdinand Pecora come out of with what they called Tammany Hall back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, where a guy like Ferdinand Pecora, who was a Sicilian immigrant from the same village that your family is from, ironically, who pulls
Yeah.
himself up by the bootstraps to get through law school. He doesn't know finance, but he knows the mob. And so when it came time for destiny to call upon him, the world, basically stopped for him to get inside the back doors of the WASP. It wasn't the Jews, even though there was Jewish financiers also, but the WASP financiers were in definite control, and they were involved with all manner, shape, or form of corruption. You take us home.
So, what I want to tell people is to follow me. Okay? Pretend I'm your mother. Okay? Pretend you really care about your mother. So you follow me, you go straight, you can look at all the other craziness bouncing off of you because I let it bounce off of me. Okay? It's like I got some kind of, I have a truth shield. I'm bulletproof. I'm freaking bulletproof. I got a shield, and all this stuff bounces off of me, and I go straight ahead and I talk about the truth. I give you the facts. I don't bullshit you. I don't tell you, Oh, but maybe you can kind of work with this. No, 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 no. You either go the correct way, you go to the light, you go to the truth, you understand that people are lying. They're lying. Does your mother lie to you? No. And I won't, I won't, I won't. Onward.
Okay, you can find more information at thecleannewdeal.org. You can watch The Con at www.thecon.tv. And I would encourage everyone to check out the new Untouchables. We record every Friday, as well as ongoing. But if you dig into the stuff that we have, all of these revelations continue to come down the pike, and we encourage you all to get your eyeballs on it. But like always, the most important thing, because of the nature of algorithms and how this whole thing is set up, you've got to like, you've got to subscribe, and you've got to share, because I can assure you that this entirety of this madness is high school, and we all know high school. Most people who get ahead are liars. That's got to stop.
Stop.
Hell has risen because we're swimming in an ocean of madness. And quite frankly, if you're the religious bent, that's the entirety of what Armageddon / the rapture is supposed to be. That all of the liars come out until all of a sudden the light awakens and the truth rises. That's the idea of it. Okay, if that's your mindset, that's what we're doing. I promise you that. That's exactly what we're revealing, because at the moment, money is God, my friends. So thanks for listening. And Roseanne, we'll talk soon. All the best.